I think the thing I wish I would have known is probably the thing that's good I did not know, which was how much effort it's going to take. I think if I knew how difficult it would be to start a business, I wouldn't have had the courage necessarily to start. But at the same time, the way in which it's so rewarding and you expand your knowledge, your skills, your connections, how you serve others, how you serve and can provide for yourself and your family is mind-blowing, really. I don't know if I would change that or not because I wouldn't be here if I had known.
Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now. Today, we are thrilled to introduce Sarah, a visionary financial strategist and the brain behind the soil and the seed concept. Sarah's innovative approach to financial growth has revolutionized the way individuals manage their wealth, from cash flow strategies to leveraging insurance for wealth protection and tax planning. Everybody's favorite topic. Alongside her husband, Bob Jung, she's on a mission to empower people to dream big, live generously, and create a lasting impact. When she's not reshaping the financial landscape, Sarah indulges in her passions for reading, painting, and traversing the globe. I kind of like that one too. With 14 countries already under her belt. Now join us as we dive into Sarah's world, exploring how she plants the seeds for financial success and nurtures the dreams of her clients and her family in Concordia, Missouri. Let's get inspired. Sarah, are you there? There she is. Yay!
I'm here. Thank you for having me,
Good to
LeAnn.
see you. Look, we're twinsies today.
Good color.
If you are listening on the podcast, I want to remind you, you can come over to, well, YouTube for sure, but potentially other locations and see us, see our personalities, our sparkly personalities, and our very similarly colored outfits today. So, Sarah, what is the favorite country you've been to so far? You mentioned 14.
Well, I am spoiled. So the country I grew up in is Papua New Guinea,
What?
and by far that's my favorite. But that's because it still feels like home all these years later.
Oh, wow. How long did you live there?
My first 18 years.
Oh, really? For
My
real?
parents were missionaries, so they were with Wycliffe Bible translators. I was born in Papua New Guinea. We'd visit the US every usually 4 years, visit family, visit churches, and then go back home again.
Wow. We might be related. I have at least one cousin who's a missionary,
Oh,
and I
wow.
think more, but I have 100 cousins, so it's hard to keep track of all of them.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I've got like maybe six or seven.
Yeah, my kids have
Seven.
two.
Wow.
I'm including the marrieds, so maybe, go with it, but 50 is still a lot of cousins.
Yeah. A little
For
jealous
sure.
over here.
Yeah, okay. So we'll go with second favorite place to visit.
Oh, that's probably France, but that's also because of family. So my uncle is
Oh,
French, and I would spend summers in France, especially during university, but also afterwards. My aunt is a watercolor artist. She was with the US Navy, and so I'd go and paint with her in the south of France and sometimes end up in Italy or elsewhere.
you still paint?
Yeah, these are all
Oh,
mine.
really? So again, if you want to see her paintings, come and check out the video format of our show, which you can also access from beyondthebusinessplan.show. So, wow, that's pretty fascinating. Well, we're here, of course, to talk about entrepreneurship as well. And how long would you say that you have been an entrepreneur?
Well, that's a good question, and it depends on how you start
Yep.
counting, because I kind of had it in my head that I wanted to do entrepreneurship. I'm trying to remember how long ago that was. Too long ago, but it was an absolute failure and an absolute like fell flat. I thought I was going to do like coaching and consulting, especially for communication side of things, because my master's degree focuses on communication management. And I love it. But that fell flat in terms of my current business. It's really largely thanks to my husband. He's the real entrepreneur, and he's the one who kind of dragged me into this space. And I say dragging kind of in a fun way, even though I started before. It was scary starting, but now we're 3 years in and we're in the financial industry. And you might think art and finances, what do they have to do with each other, and communications? But there's actually a lot. Like there's the art of communications and working with people, and it's absolute joy to be serving people in a way that really touches every aspect of their lives.
Wow, that's inspiring. And, what percentage, well, I'm sure you know some of the statistics. Not every business that starts succeeds. In fact, the failure rate of starting businesses is actually fairly high.
Yeah.
Do you know the statistics? Do you know any statistics? You're kind of a
I've heard them. I
expert.
forgot, but a significant percentage within
Yeah.
the first year, and I think within the first five, even
Yeah.
more, but I don't remember specifically.
Yeah. Within the first year, it's fairly high, much higher even by 5 years. Very few will make it to the 10-year mark. And that's hard. That's hard. But I think there's more to it as well in that, I don't know, do people change? And if people change, businesses can change.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
perhaps sometimes businesses change or people, businesses end because the owners or the people have changed or they've sold them.
Mhm.
There's many different reasons. So you said that your first endeavor into it, though, was an absolute failure. I'm sure nobody would like to hear anything about that.
But the funny part is, one of the gals I was trying to recruit back then for my first shot at a business ended up working with me for about a year or so here in the financial industry. So I must have done something right in order to convince her to come and join me here. But I had zero training in terms of how do you be an entrepreneur? How do you start a business? How do you find clients? How do you do anything? Honestly, we don't have that in our school system. And I think maybe for a lot of people just starting a business, if you don't have a network, if you don't have access to training and resources, if you don't know where to go to find knowledge on how do you build a business, it's really overwhelming.
Yeah. So what did you try to do? I mean, what did you try?
Well, I did manage to get one client, and
Okay.
that one client didn't really pay me. And I had to work super hard to get paid half of what was promised. But I helped him with his website. I helped him think through his messaging. It's been a while now. I forget a lot of what it was that we were doing together. But I suppose that's still part of the journey. It's still part of that journey of thinking through what does it look like to serve people and to build a business. And what I'm really thankful for now in the financial industry is that actually, while I'm building my own practice, I am building my own business, it's still within the context of an agency, meaning that I have access to training and resources, both in terms of communication, mindset, business ownership, and leadership. But then, of course, all of the fun stuff that other people might find boring in terms of the kind of the technical side of putting in place financial strategies and plans, which I would have thought boring not too long ago. And now I get all nerdy and excited about.
That's perfect. So how did you find that one client?
Trying to remember because it was a while ago. It was just an introduction from somebody else.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
When you
it's
say a
been
while ago, I mean, can you give us a ballpark? Was it 5 years, 10 years, more?
more along the lines of 10 years. Yeah,
Okay, got it. So a lot has changed in 10 years. Social
a lot.
media, we had social media 10 years ago, certainly.
Guess you could sort of say I had a second client in that I did the website for Lutheran Bible translators.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah,
Oh.
they've since revamped it again, but
Mhm.
yeah.
So you came from a background of website design?
No, but I love design. So
Oh,
again, that piece of how do you organize something visually, like in terms of what are you saying the language wise? How do you try to take something that maybe is complicated, simplify it in a way that people can understand and then take action on? So website does that, artwork does that, finance does that, right? Finance is complicated. How do you take something like that and then simplify it because it's also important? So that's probably the common thread.
but how did you get the skill of website design?
Self-taught mostly. And so you can learn a lot It doesn't have to be like HTML code. There are so many tools out there that you can use to design something incredible. WordPress, so many of WordPress
Yeah, but WordPress is not
websites.
easy. And I'm speaking as a designer as well. I mean,
Uh-huh.
did learn HTML, and here's, I'm going to date myself. I learned HTML in 1999 with a baby in my arms,
Wow.
who, as of this recording date, which we don't have to speak, it's her 26th birthday.
Wow.
But
Mm.
yeah, it's yeah, HTML. So 26 years ago, I was designing websites with HTML. WordPress, of course, is out there. It's not easy though. There are other things like drag and drop, Wix, GoDaddy.
Go high
I,
level.
yep, Go High Level though is not easy
It's
either.
a learning curve for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. So you just had a love of communications. Was design or that part of your training in communications then?
My master's, yeah, it was visual communications.
Oh,
So
okay. There
international
you
design and what was that one? I'm combining my undergrad with my master's right now.
go.
And communications management. That's what it was, international design and communication management. So looking at whether it's designing a city and
hmm
how that appears to be able to attract in the kind of people you want to live there, or whether it was designing
Wow.
a restaurant menu. It was really broad. And anyway, probably every single one of us in that class would have a different definition of what our master's was about, which tells me that maybe it wasn't super clear for a design type of a degree. But
Funny.
yeah, it was pretty.
As a mother, and I know you're a mom as well. I think you said you have a young daughter.
I do.
Um, what's that?
I do. Yeah.
You do. And so I'm going to give you a heads up because mine are obviously older. Um, I told my daughters they could do anything they wanted to do, but they had the example of my husband and I being entrepreneurs, right?
Mhm.
We owned a manufacturing company from the time that they were in their early teens through graduation, but even before that, they saw both of us involved in family business or running our own businesses. So I believed, and I told them they can do anything they want to do, but I got through college, joined hospitality, and I went into teaching and I flamed out in 5 years. So you can probably just skip over those. One daughter became a hospitality manager, the other became a teacher. Be careful what you tell them not to do. They will be more intrigued.
No, that's funny.
At the moment, both of them swear they don't want to become entrepreneurs, but you know, girls, if you're listening, stop listening for a minute. I see it in every move that they make, everything that they do. I see that entrepreneurial spirit in them. Their ability to even just get up and go and do something, I think takes some entrepreneurial guts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure they learned that from you and your husband.
Yep.
And I think
Yeah.
we need more of that just in general in our society, like the ability to learn how do you I know how to identify an opportunity and the risk and what needs to happen in order to pursue that. And
Yeah. And we do. Sometimes as business owners, we look for employees that do have the entrepreneurial spirit, especially in salespeople, that can be very beneficial. And other
Mhm.
times you maybe don't want that entrepreneurial spirit quite so much. If you just need the work to get done and you don't need them reinventing the wheel, but 41% of people feel like they would like to own a business. And
That
yet,
many.
yep, 41%. But only 6 to 9% are self-employed.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there's a 32%. One out of three American adults think about or dream about starting a business, but they don't do it.
And hence this podcast in part, right?
And hence this podcast in part. Yes. This is for you, 32%. This is for you because it is possible. And what do you love most about it, being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for me, I love the flexibility with the time because I got married late and we started our family late and we've got a little girl. I absolutely love the fact that if she's sick or if we want to take a vacation or go visit family or grandpa dies, you want to go Finley and see the family there. You simply schedule. And with my business, I can take meetings anywhere so long as I have a good internet connection. And so I love the fact that I can schedule around my family. And yes, yes, business is busy, but I can prioritize. And I think that's the biggest thing. That plus the ability to pour into my clients in ways that I might not have that freedom to do so if I was working for somebody else.
100%. Yeah, there's standards and this is our standards of operation and you will do XYZ and ABC order. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have
And
a
I
lot
can
more.
write for my clients, right? And so that's not something you can necessarily do at work, but I can do that because this is my business. And so,
Indeed. Indeed. We did have an employee once when we had the manufacturing company, and she said one day, I do pray over everything that gets sent out of here. I'm like, that's okay. I like that. Thank you. But it wasn't something we asked her to even do. It was just something that was innate in her. I
yeah,
thought that was so beautiful.
it is.
What made it easier starting the second business?
Having support, honestly. I had the support of people who have been in this industry a lot longer than I have been. They trained me, they showed me the works, they taught me how do you analyze different strategies in different companies. They taught me how to think through what elements of somebody's life are important to consider within a financial plan. And the more I build in this space, the more resources to expertise that I find and I have access to, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, and is the company that you're with, are they organized as a brokerage? Are they organized as a network marketing company or both?
It's a little bit like real estate in that you have your agency and then you have that ability to build your own agency, your own team within there. And
Sure.
then, but you don't necessarily have to if you don't
Right.
want to. You
Yeah.
could simply refer people in, like you have a real estate agent who might simply hold a license to refer. Like it has a lot of flexibility. So then I have an agency that provides the best of leadership and training. We actually, our parent company is a global Fortune 500 company, which means that we have a platform and technology and over 100 different companies on our platform. And so
Wow.
it's not like I'm not bootstrapping from my garage, even if our office is in the garage, right? I'm like, uh,
Who would have an office in a garage? Just kidding.
conversion
Oh,
process.
Amazon started in a
Yeah,
garage. Yeah,
right.
for real. But still, you have to differentiate yourself, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. Yeah. Hence your introduction, right? The soil and the seed.
Yeah.
Is one of those ways I differentiate myself because I think it's maybe too easy or people get overwhelmed with the now of their life. I'm busy, I'm stressed, I'm month to month, maybe there's debt. And that to me, those are kind of soil related issues of tending your ground now to get into a healthy place. And they're important. But we also, if we're thinking about self-care for the long haul, we do also need to be thinking about our future. How are we saving towards longer term goals, retirement, for example, or if somebody's younger, helping to put their kids through college, or if they're entrepreneurial, funding their business. And so to me, those are more kind of a seed related issues. And so within the soil side, we're looking at things like cash flow, having an emergency fund, making sure that if there's high interest debt, we've got a plan for debt management. So that now when we're putting seeds in the ground of things like life insurance, wealth building strategies, legacy planning, they're growing. And we're not having to, in difficult times, cannibalize those seeds to take care of the now because we've got our now like healthy. We're tilled that ground. We're preparing that while we're starting to sow for some of those future needs. And they go in tandem. They really do. But of course, there's a priority and an order that need to be considered if there's a need in all six areas.
How long have you had this process of the soil and the seed kind of in place in your mind?
In my mind, this particular process, maybe I'd say a
Okay.
year-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had other names that I would call it before. I still sometimes do, depending on who I'm talking with. Because for some people, one thing will resonate, with others, something else resonates.
Yeah, fascinating. I have a follow-up question to that, and it comes with AI, but we're going to take just a really quick break. So, listeners, don't go away because this question about AI, I think you're going to like it too. Hey, coffee aficionados and entrepreneurs, LeAnn Lyon here. Are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Well, 9 years ago, I discovered the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick me up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting this website, whyilovemycoffee.com. Yes, that's the URL, whyilovemycoffee.com, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe. And we are back. Sarah, we have been talking about your process, your proprietary process, I hope, called the soil and the seed that you talk about in your business. In developing that process, and it's no harm, no foul if you say yes or no, but did you use AI to help develop any of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like AI, not and that for me actually fits into a larger process I call the smart money framework, which AI
Okay,
helped me figure out as well. And so
really?
I said, these are the things I do, AI. Now I need a kind of a 3 to 9 step process that I can use. And it goes, well, smart. You got your set the foundation, money framework, asset protection and growth, rollout and implementation, track and review. And then the soil and the seed, they all kind of fit into really that money framework step of understanding where, and the setting the foundation step. Where am I at now? Where am I wanting to go? What do I need to be considering?
Wow, that's awesome. So many people are still afraid of AI at the time of this recording, but at the same time, we're realizing how much it really can be a valuable asset. I have spent a significant amount of time using AI in developing even this podcast, this show, talking about, what do we name it? The name was my name ultimately, but it was conceived of with the combination of names that were suggested when I asked my AI. I said, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to serve. Suggest some ideas. And that's how we came up with Beyond the Business Plan. Because it's one thing to make a plan, it's another to execute.
Yes, so true. And that execution part, it takes discipline and consistency and the ability to see to the other side. Because if you can see where you're going, that means that you can push through the grind of action after action after action because you know where you're going.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit. You've mentioned your bachelor's, you've mentioned your master's. Let's go back a little bit further to when you were little, and I'm talking about say 7 or 8. What do you remember? What was your play? What did you play? Some people played office, some people played house, some people played school. Do you remember what you played?
A little bit. I vaguely remember playing that we were building a rocket to go to heaven.
Excellent.
And that's one I remember. I remember I loved reading even as a little kid, but I'm not sure what age it was. Maybe
Sure.
starting around that age, climbing trees and reading books.
Yeah.
And a superhero, I think often we'd be playing to be a superhero, a warrior princess with a sword who would rescue people, those
Mhm.
sorts of things.
Excellent. Yeah, it's fun. I always like to ask the question and then think about where you were, what you played, rescuing people, building a rocket ship, bringing people to heaven. How many of those things do you still do today?
Well, to some degree, I guess, right? I do
Right.
get to rescue people. I get to help people to put in place like one dear lady that I've been able to work with was she spent much of her career pouring into other people, but had actually neglected herself. And
Mm.
so what we did is we basically rescued her retirement. We rescued an old retirement plan, protected it, got herself a bonus for starting a new account. It's positioned to grow well. It's actually done 11% the last 2 years in a row with no
Wow.
risk of market loss. Got her saving somewhere else as well that's not being taxed on the growth, and she'll be able to tax this at tax free. She's done over 7% on that for the last couple of years on average, and helped her put in place a long-term care plan. And we have a plan in place for the next step when she's ready, possibly put in place a personal pension plan. And just that relief of knowing that, and she's single. And so her thought is, as I'm aging, who's going to take care of me? And so being able to think through and put in place something for herself that, I mean, obviously God is our provider, but having a plan and listening and putting in place a plan to build and to prepare is so powerful. Or another couple, they have a young son, not super young, actually grown, but with special needs.
Yeah.
I helped them get in place where they should be able to retire early. They have
Mm.
special needs trust in place, meaning that their son can still get aid from the US government, but it can also still receive an inheritance from them. And so it's in different ways, completely different ways.
Hmm.
But there's that element for me of what I'm doing. It's important that I can actually bless and serve and bring value and hope and opportunity to people.
So you are a superhero.
I'd like to think so. Feel like it every day, but
I
in
think
my
it's just the
nature.
decision. You are.
Oh,
And that's what I find is that I think even in our play and in our core, our desires as children, I think we're often expressing what I believe, like you, that we were planted, that a seed was planted in us before we were aware of what we were meant to do, where we were meant to go. And we could, I know you love this word authenticity, so we'll talk about that in a minute, but we can authentically dig into who we are and how we serve. There was a time not long ago I considered whether or not this show and this podcast needed to happen any longer. If I was serving a purpose and, maybe I needed to go a different direction. And every cell in my body said, no, that this is what I'm called to do. This is something I've wanted to do ever since I was a child. I was fascinated with radio and DJs and how people could connect people. I loved writing and photography, and I'm finding out how am I going to tie that into what I'm doing now.
mm,
And when I really dig into what I love, and
yeah.
not just what people tell me I should do or I'm even what I'm good at, but really dig into what do I love?
Mm,
Where does time disappear?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's when we're digging into really our soul purpose, if you will.
Yeah. That's really, really good.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're continuing this podcast.
thank you. Yeah, no, it's the doubt lasted a minute, maybe, not even that long, probably.
Oh,
There was a time some time ago when I had a different podcast. I was sick, quite ill, actually broken bones. So very, very, very exhausted because bones just take a lot of energy to heal. And I really only had energy for a little bit of work. Thankfully, I was self-employed, so I was
right.
able to do that. But the little bit of work that I chose to do and to do well with energy included that show.
Yeah.
And it
That
just
was a
meant
lot.
that much. That show, and then leading a community that I lead also, which is turning into a private community now called Leaders League, uh,
Mm,
meant for, people who are leaders, who are pouring into and wanting to pour into each other as well as learn for themselves. So that's coming shortly as well, if not already in existence, depending on when people are listening to this show.
that's
Which could
exciting.
be 5 years from now. I mean, you'll initial show will be soon.
Sooner than 5 years, I hope.
Oh yes, absolutely. But we hope that these replays will serve
Yeah.
people for many, many years. So, in hindsight, is there one thing that you wish you had known before you started business?
I think the thing I wish I would have known is probably the thing that's good I did not know, which was how much effort it's going to take. I think if I knew how difficult it would be to start a business, I wouldn't have had the courage necessarily to start. But at the same time, the way in which it's so rewarding and you expand your knowledge, your skills, your connections, how you serve others, how you serve and can provide for yourself and your family is mind-blowing, really. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would change that or not because I wouldn't be here if I had known. And so,
Truly, truly. Yeah, and I did mention authenticity a moment ago, but that's a word that, in a way it ties back to what I said just a minute ago. There's many things about I think we're truly happiest. And I named my company Joy Minders for a reason that we can find it's a reminder to find joy, that we should
mhm,
have joy in our businesses and in
yeah,
our lives. That's what Joy Minder stands for.
yeah.
And I believe that that seed, that gift, that desire is put in us, long before we can really know it.
There's not much more rewarding than doing something and doing it well. Like that feeling of when you've done it and you're finished, and you're like, whoa,
Right.
I just did something amazing. And so it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. So I call that true authenticity. But, we were chatting a little before we started the show, and you said that the word authenticity kind of strikes a chord in you sometimes. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Sure, it does. It puts my teeth on edge a little bit because I've been hearing that word used recently, almost maybe in a manipulative way or a weaponized way. It's been feeling like the word authentic has come to mean I'm going to think and do whatever I want. And if you don't like it, too bad for you. How do I even put it? If you don't like me and what I'm doing, you're a bad person. And maybe you're gaslighting, which is another trigger word that I do not like right now. And I'm hearing over and over again in different conversations. And so the word authentic itself, it's sad because by itself it's a beautiful word and a deep and powerful and meaningful word. And so I'm just slightly concerned with how it is morphing or evolving in society right now.
That's an interesting concept, something to ponder. I don't think we're going to come up with a solution for that one right now, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it's an awareness that I certainly didn't have before you brought it up. I had not thought of it that way. And perhaps listeners listening, if you want to chime in on that too, feel free to jump in the comments or let us know your thoughts. Is authentic what it's meant to mean, or is it being weaponized today?
Yeah. And how do we be authentic in a way that is kind?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kindness, shall we?
Sure.
Authenticity and actually when I've looked at it in vibrationally, true authenticity, when they talk about the vibrations of emotions and so forth, true authenticity, I've heard, actually vibrates at a higher vibration than love.
Wow.
Yeah, so truly being truly authentic would vibrate higher, and that you could feel the authenticity of a person. And you blessed me earlier. You said, well, if I said the word authentic, it wouldn't mean something. But
Mhm.
that would come to that vibration, I believe.
It must, because you can tell or you can feel from somebody as well. Like words plus them together bring meaning.
For real, yeah.
Yeah.
But kindness also comes into play. There's so much need and room for more kindness in
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
world.
I mean, I think our society right now, it's so polarized in so many different ways. And one of the things I love about our nation is independent thinking and freedom of speech. But I think where we've gone with our nation as well is we say that's still there, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it is. Sometimes it feels like, in some ways, we've become splintered into sharp edges that hurt each other rather than seeing the beauty in being different and unique and supporting each other, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
No, I get it. I do. I think there's a beautiful place where we can communicate and have different ideas. In
Yeah.
fact, it occurred to me earlier when you were talking about differentiating yourself in your
Uh-huh.
business with your proprietary process of the soil and the seed. That's beautiful.
Mm.
One reason you have to do that is to separate yourself out, make yourself different than the others. But on the flip side, there's no lack of abundance.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah.
there's no lack, period. Let's just say there's no lack.
Uh-huh.
And it's still good to differentiate ourselves, but I tell people who are, and I'd love for you to chime in on this in a moment, but if I'm doing something or you're doing something, it doesn't mean that there's not room for 1,000 other people to do what we're doing
Yeah,
because there's
absolutely.
8 billion people on this planet.
I was sitting down with somebody just a day or two ago and telling them about some of the tools and resources that I had for them. And she has a financial professional, but they're from a different side of the industry. So it's like, I won't tell him. I'm like, you can tell him, that's fine. Because he has access to tools and resources that I don't, but I have access to tools and resources that he doesn't.
Right.
And he might actually have clients he wants to send to me, and I might have clients I want to send to him. I'd actually like to get to know him because there's enough to go around.
Yes, yeah. That spirit of competition, that's what you're talking about, I think. There's a spirit of competition instead of collaboration. There's a spirit of lack instead of a spirit of abundance. And
Yeah, and then competition's not necessarily bad if it's done well. Because even with some of my colleagues, we'll have fun, friendly, healthy competition going on. But if somebody has a question for the other, they'll pause and stop and help the person that they're trying to beat because there's a care and a concern and they want to lift each other up. And so, but how do you care well? How do you recognize that there is more than enough, just like you said? There
yeah,
is more than enough.
there's more than enough. Yeah, some of the awards that are behind me, one of them is for sales, and I was a sales leader in this little company called, you might not, well, you probably might know, Yellow Book, Yellow
Oh
Pages.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I first went in for the interview, for real, I was like, there's no chance I want this job. But the person interviewing me did such a convincing job of laying out what we really did, which was to inspire entrepreneurs and to bring their vision for their business to life. And it just burst my heart open right there
Oh,
on the spot. And I went into sales. I became one of the top sales reps, and we would have competitions,
yeah,
right? And
right.
so, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't hand one of the others. I mean, I won some of them because one of them I remember was you had to make a sale every day. And as soon as you didn't make a sale, you got dropped out of the competition. And two of us made it to 31 days,
Wow.
not on the weekends. And, it wasn't like I was going to hand somebody a sale to keep them in the competition. But if they needed help completing a sale so that they could stay in the competition, in a heartbeat, I would have helped.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the
Mm.
difference.
Yeah. Mm.
Beautiful. So if you could give one piece of advice to somebody just starting their entrepreneurial journey, especially if they're just a little hesitant, they're not really sure, and now they're like, oh, she said it's hard. What
It's
would you
hard,
say?
but grab a hold of that vision because if you have a clear sense of what you want and why you want it, then the hard things are things that you can simply go through. It's okay. There's a joy that's in front of you that helps you to endure the suffering or the difficulty or the rejections, right? All of us get rejections throughout the process of building a business. But if you think about how many times, even, we talked about sales a little bit. What does it take? 7, 8, 9 times? I think they're saying even more before the sale is made often. And then just the awareness that the time it takes for people to build trust and awareness. Sometimes it's fast, but sometimes it takes a while. And so to say, oh, that's okay. I'm not being rejected. I'm not bad. I have a vision. I help people. What I do brings value to this world, both in terms of where I'm going for myself, my family, but also importantly for the people that I'm serving.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important to know where you're going.
Absolutely. Yeah, that vision comes first.
Hmm.
I've heard more than one, but more recently, a presentation where he broke down the steps of entrepreneurship according to the Bible creation in the Genesis.
which was,
first, let there be light.
oh,
And light is vision, being able to see, and then, and through on. I'm not authorized to represent really what this whole but it's well done. And I'm
yeah.
sure it's probably been done by multiple people. As they say, there's no truly, it was King Solomon who said that nothing new is under the sun. But that particular discussion I don't have memorized enough to replicate on the spot right here.
Oh, no worries.
I might
But
look it up though again.
mhm.
It was interesting, and I think there's lots of ways. So I'm going to get to my last question here in just a minute. But before I do that, how can people find you, Sarah? What's the
Yeah,
best social platforms? And because people are sometimes listening, you might want to spell things out as well.
absolutely. So my website is simply Sarah with an H dash Snyder.com. And then LinkedIn is a fantastic way to connect with me as well. And I see, I've got a common name. Let me make sure I give you my actual LinkedIn. What do you call it?
And by the way,
URL.
we have these, so we'll just put them underneath wherever we broadcast this. So if you're listening, just look below. We'll have Sarah's information below here as well. But what's your favorite way to be connected?
Yeah, probably LinkedIn. So Sarah K. Snyder is how you'll find me on LinkedIn. And then, of course, my website. Those are my two favorite ways.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so my last burning question is sometimes in business, we get a no, or we get an apparent stop, or we, I don't know, just hit those hard places. Have you ever found yourself to be offended? Or if not, why? Either way. What do you do when that happens?
I think it can be tempting to take it personally and feel offended. And it can be tempting, actually, sometimes to care more for the other person than they seem to care for themselves, if that makes any sense. So maybe somebody lets a policy lapse that would have set them up for an incredible future. It can really feel tempting to say, are you kidding me? I fought tooth and nail to get you that. That was actually a bigger plan than you should have been qualified for. But I told them you're an entrepreneur and you're building something. It can be tempting. But at the same time, it doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do me any good. And there are plenty of people out there who actually still need what I have to offer. And so a no or rejection is not really about me. And I need to recognize that and be okay with that and to be able to continue to build, to
Excellent.
serve. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's truly is about that big vision, knowing the big picture. I'll share with you if you don't know. One of the big visions we have is that Joyminder and even this podcast eventually will be done from a boat.
Nice.
And we will be traveling and carrying on this business of inspiring aspiring entrepreneurs. And while this year our summits will be from the same home office that I'm in today, eventually I'll even be running my summits from wherever I happen to be. So that ability to travel, you've been to 14, I've been to 23 countries so far. I've been to
Yeah,
49
what?
states, right?
What? Got me beat. Not too many people have.
No, in 49 states. One
Nice.
to go.
Which
And
is?
here, I'll put it this way. If you think you know what it is, I'll tell her after we stop the recording. But if you think you know what it is, it's the biggest one. Go ahead and drop that in our comments, and I will acknowledge or tell you you're wrong. I will tell you if you guess Hawaii, as one person has, if you guess that Hawaii is our biggest state, that is incorrect. Please don't be offended. All right. Well, Sarah, thank you. Any last words for our audience as we wrap up?
Just shine. Yeah, shine. Shine. You have a voice. You were given a voice. God gave you a voice. You have a calling and a purpose and a direction. Go for it. Don't let the nose get in your way of that dream and that vision.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for being here. And thank you to our audience as well for joining us on this show, Beyond the Business Plan, to unleash your joyful business potential. Remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage that you can take with others. So find your tribe for the journey. And give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform to keep shining and aligning with your purpose and Joyminder solutions. Then come on back every week for our new inspiring episodes. And until that time, I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep spreading the joy, keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, sales setters, are you ready to jumpstart your entrepreneurial journey or give your business a powerful refresh? Join us at the next and Restart Your Business Summit, where you'll discover the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive. Learn more at joyminder.com. That's JOYMINDER.com, and look for the Restart Your Business Summit icon. Don't miss out. Your future business awaits. Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, LeAnnLyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success.